So I've recently released a brand new album on Lo-Fi Girl called Forest Kingdom, and I think it's probably my favourite album I've written to date. It's my first ever fully solo album, and it's my first album that's going to be printed onto vinyl. So in this video I'll be breaking down the track Lofi Lullaby from the album. I'll go over it from start to finish and what I've put on the mastering chain, just so you can see the whole process of making a track for Lo-Fi Girl. And given the rate that the vinyls are selling at the moment, I think by the time this video launches it will be sold out. So in this video I'll be giving away one copy of the vinyl as well. I can also sign it if you want, or if you don't want, that's fine too. But all you got to do to enter to win that is drop a comment in the description down below, and then as soon as we hit 300 likes I'll be giving away a copy of the record. And the Lo-Fi Girl vinyls are usually really sought after. Some of the earlier ones are going for hundreds of pounds on Discogs and eBay, so I think it's a really great thing to have for vinyl collectors, or if you like my music, it's a really nice souvenir to have as well, so be sure to enter that as well. But for now I'm just going to go in and break down the track. I've been playing it in the background of this introduction, and I will link it as well so you can hear the track in full if you want to listen to that first before watching the video. Otherwise, here is the breakdown. So this is the project file. It's 74 BPM in C# minor, and it sort of started off initially as a bit of a guitar idea. I was just noodling around a guitar with some loopers, stacking some different guitar stuff together, and then it eventually evolved into this track. So with this album, I sort of used a similar sound palette for most of the drums just to keep it a bit of unity, and I tried to add variance in the Foley textures, the time signatures, and just the style of track that I was writing. But the drums sort of tied it together, so I tried to use as much of my last sample pack as I could, just to keep that unity and keep that sort of gritty, Foley rich sound. So starting off with the main drum bus, this is what it sounds like. So I really like the fills in this one, and a lot of that was from Addictive Drums, which I also got a similar time to starting to write this track. So I got the Addictive Drums, which is what all the fills are really, and I'm using the Modern Soul R&B patch to get that sound. So that's the same for all of these. It started off with a little rim shot, the sort of snare, fill, and then some of the highs. Just a simple hi-hat pattern. We also laid in a few more snares, little cymbals, and then my usual drums. So these are drum sounds from the Dreaming Lo-Fi Hip Hop Volume 2 pack, and they texture with the Addictive Drums, giving it that sort of more full sound. And then here I've also got a little brush sample, and that sort of blends in with the hi-hats. And then on the drums I'm not doing a lot, usually I'm just cutting different frequencies that I don't want there, maybe using the velocity just to keep it quiet. A little bit of reverb on the highs there. But that's it really, I'm not doing anything crazy with effects, just little snippets of reverb and a little bit of filtering. Yeah, that was the main sort of thing that I liked about this track, was just having a little fill. That's not something I usually do, so it was nice to have a little bit of a different approach on the drums. And then just a nice little thumpy kick. Again, ML Dusty Kick 1 from the last sample pack. There will be a new sample pack soon, so do stay tuned for that. And then I've also got the little Faller sound. This was from the Tom C. Bumps. I think it's the Nostalgia drum kit. I've used it a bit before, it's just a nice little way to transition. So that's the drums really, very simple. Some nice little fills in there, adding a little bit of variation as the track goes on, but that is it. Very simple, and I really liked it for this track because I felt like it was just a soft, melodic lo-fi track. Just needed a little bit of drum texture without going too crazy. Some usual atmosphere in there, the market atmosphere that I use quite a lot. So that's a market recording mixed with some vinyl. And then here I've just got, again, a simple bass from the bass guitar. A little bit of EQ in there, but nothing much. Now onto the main part of the track, which is this instrument bus. So to start on the actual bus itself, this is my usual sort of bus effects in that I've got some filtering, to help transition. So we cut the lows out as we move into the track, and as we sort of transition, we cut the lows out. So then it's a little bit more impactful when everything drops back in with bass and drums, etc. So there's a few different cuts here. I'm cutting the lows out again as we different transitions, and as usual I've got a little portal on the transitions to make them flow a little bit more. So this is Dreamy Music Box preset. And then next up is the sort of guitar bus. The guitar really is sort of based on this little loop here. And if you sort of try and analyse the chords, they're a little bit unusual. It was more sort of based on a pattern that I found on the guitar rather than thinking about any chord theory or anything like that. So just to quickly explain the main core of this guitar, which was really the first thing I recorded on this track. It's in C sharp minor, so everything solo wise is around the C sharp minor scale, C sharp minor pentatonic scale. But this was the main chord. So it's 5th fret on the E string, 7th fret on the A string, and 6th fret on the D string, which is this bit. So it's a little bit of a stretch. That's the first bit, which is sort of like an A major 7 but without the 3rd. And then we move the 5th fret on the E to the 2nd fret on the E, which is a bit of a stretch. That would make it a sort of F sharp 7 sus 2. And then we take the finger off the 2nd fret so it's open. Then you're playing E, E, G sharp, so I guess it's just an E chord. And then back to the F sharp 7 sus 2. And then, as I said, because it's in the C sharp minor, I'm just doing slides within the C sharp minor pentatonic for most of the layering, so it's sort of like stuff like that, just stacking it on to give it that sort of textured, sort of dreamy state. So yeah, that's the main guitar riff, and then we're texturing little melodies. So I've got this top little melody on there, again in the C sharp minor scale. A little lead line here on the guitar 3. Little melodies in there. This one I tracked twice, panned one left, panned one right, and flattened them down, as you can see here, which gives it a nice little bit of width, which is always good when you're doing that sort of dreamy guitar stacking. And there's a little break in the track where that sort of guitar drops out. But for most of it, it's just churning along. So there's some other textures in here as well. Firstly, we've got this bells, which again, C sharp minor scale. And that bells is down here. So I've applied effects to a lot of these and flattened the tracks, bounced them to audio effectively, just to help with the mixing and mastering side of things. And it just helps eliminate any issues. If you've got 30, 40, 50 tracks and they're all MIDI, and I've got different effects on there, often you'll find when you bounce them, you get clicks and sort of issues with the MIDI being, converted to audio. So if you do it one at a time, you can just make sure each track's perfect, and then you bounce it as a whole, which works really nicely. So yeah, this is the Sleepy Bells, which is Brush Bell Hits, an Ableton sort of standard thing. Bit of overdrive on that, some heavy compression, auto filtering, sometimes a little bit of convolution. So that makes that. I've also used Jazz Note, which I'll talk about in a second, which is a similar sort of more organic bell. And I used a sound from the Spitfire Audio drama toolkit called Frozen Textures, which is like a little guitar texture, which I'll mention now as well. So those are just some sounds that I used in this section here. So we've got the bells that I mentioned there. I then had a little bit of piano, which again, just playing little simple things, following the chords in the guitar. So this is just playing the sort of root notes of the chord progression. And this is the same thing, but it's using Native Instruments Noir felt piano, and using their particle engine, which, as you can hear, is adding little snippets of audio from different piano notes. So So that's where that came from. And then I've also got another little piano line. Again, the piano's all from the Noir felt on this one. Then this pluck is the Jasno that I just mentioned from Felt Instruments, the organic pluck. Got a little bit of crystalline on there, giving it a little bit of a sort of shimmery reverb. There's more of a pluck later on as well. And then I've got this top layer, which is the Drama Toolkit guitar that I mentioned. It's got like guitar sound blended with sort of synthy pads. Finally, a little bit of Lofi Patrice, which probably overused by this point, but it sounds amazing. In this sort of track, it's just a little dreamy texture in the background. Just breathy vocals go into the sends, which are Portal and Crystalline in this. Gives it a little bit of delayed texture, granular synth feel. So really trying to keep it simple in this one, just keep it about the melody, layering some different melodies together, getting some nice vocal stacks and some shimmers of guitar and piano. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out, super soft and ethereal. So just to move on to the master real quick, this is probably more or less my latest master chain at the moment. So I've usually got a VU meter and a limiter on there while I'm making the track. VU meter is just so I can reference exactly where I am. Sometimes, you know, especially if you're recording stuff like guitar, you can be way too quiet without really realizing it. So I always check on a VU meter to make sure I'm not sort of recording at some weirdly low audio level. Next up, a little EQ8 using the sort of mid-side mode so I can cut anything out on this curve in the stereo field below a certain frequency and just cut everything out below, you know, 100 hertz probably. This is probably a bit generous. Usually I go a little bit further, just cut everything below 100 hertz and make sure stereo field below, I don't know, 150, 200 is pretty mono. Next up, a little soothe, just to tidy up some of the lows and mids. Next up, Gullfoss. I usually tweak the settings depending on the track. So I've got no real science behind this. I'm just adjusting them to ear. And a little bit of a boost. So I'm making it a little bit duller, taming it, recovering some frequencies. Again, it's just sort of playing it by ear on the Gullfoss. A little bit of an exciter there, enhancing the high end from Ozone's 9. And then I've got a glue compressor. I've got two compressors there. One is sort of faster attack, fast release, just taking the edge off some of the kicks and stuff. And then I've got more of a slower attack, slower release, again for some of the louder sections. And then an Ozone, which is where I'm trying to push it to around -14 lufs. More recently, I'm trying to push more like -13. But yeah, -14 for this whole album was generally my target. So yeah, quite a simple track, but I think it turned out really nicely. Love to know what you think in the comments down below. And have you listened to the full album yet? What do you reckon? I'm really proud of this one, so would love it if everyone could check it out and let me know what they think. And do be sure to enter the competition by dropping a like and a comment on this video. I have got some exciting news, as I keep saying, coming soon in the form of competitions, sample packs, beat making competitions, etc., with some really exciting partnerships as well. But I can't say anything about that just yet, so do stay tuned for that. I'm still in the background finishing them all off. But yeah, thanks for watching and catch you next week.